Hello there, it is Irene Lyon and welcome to this video today and to this world of healing trauma, nervous system health, and all things neuroplasticity. I am going to read something, a comment from an older YouTube video that was back in fall, autumn of 2020. And every now and again I see a comment. All your comments are wonderful. And sometimes I see a comment and it just is like, I got to share that at some point and make a video out of it. So I will then print these comments. I'll copy and paste on a piece of paper so I don't forget. So I've been going through my papers and I wanted to address this one today because it falls into one of those spaces and places where someone might say to me or to the world or to an article that I've written on trauma or a video, oh, but I didn't have any trauma because I wasn't in a war, or I wasn't sexually abused, or I wasn't physically attacked by a stranger and mugged on the street. So we have to, I believe, get out of this thinking that a traumatic event has to be like this or like that. It really depends on the person and the level of regulation and of course the age, because when we're really young, we still don't have self-regulation. So I'll talk about that a little bit later, but I'm going to read this comment and then I'm going to offer you some suggestions, kind of like a choose your own adventure. Remember those books, Choose Your Own Adventure, where you go to another resource of mine to back up this comment and deeper learning around it. Okay, so here is the comment. So they write, gosh, this video hits so close to home. And I'll be sure to post that video also underneath in the show more section. I'm a lefty. By lefty, they mean left hand. So they were naturally left-handed, right? That is something that is humans, for whatever reason, we tend to have a preferred hand to use. Some people are ambidextrous and that's fine too. But there was a thing, I don't know if it's still happening, where if a child showed to be a left-handed person, they would be forced to write with their right hand. And maybe I should have looked this up before I started this video. I'm sure there's some strange concept as to why it was bad or dangerous or demonic, God only knows what, to write and create with your left hand or to eat with your left hand. Anyway, that's another topic. So I was a lefty and I was spanked as a child until I learned how to write and eat with my right hand. When I was 5 years old, my grandfather taught me how to ride a bike by taking off the training wheels, and he took me to the top of the hill. For the record, I got nothing against not using training wheels on a bike, but come on, top of the hill, let's be on some, easy ground that's flat. First of all, okay, I digress. So he told me to go. I was so scared and said no and started crying. So this person really asserted themselves. No, I don't want to do it. And then was told I would be spanked, that they would be spanked if they didn't go. So I mustered up enough strength, or what I'm learning now, I've learned how to detach from myself when I went. So this person is starting to learn that they basically detach, they shut down, and for the sake of safety and not being hit again and punished, they just went, even though they were terrified to go. So I mustered up enough strength, or what I'm learning now, I've learned how to detach from myself and went. I made it 3/4 of the way down and I fell, scraped my legs really bad. I just remember my grandfather standing at the top laughing at me, ! Thank you for doing your work. Now in my late 30s, I feel like I'm learning to be myself and it's uncomfortable. I'm gonna read that one more time. Now in my late 30s, I feel like I'm learning to be myself and it's uncomfortable. You see how this makes sense? I just did a live stream, and depending on when you watch this video, it might be current or a bit old, but January 2021, I did a live stream on finding our sovereign source energy, finding our life force energy, being autonomous in ourselves. And I get into, in that long form lecture, all the ways, not all the ways, but some hypothetical situations that would put a human being into a situation where they are no longer able to trust their gut, their feelings, their instincts, their, almost said insects, their instincts, what they want, and their boundaries. And so this person, now in their 30s, and thank you, I want to keep the name private, but the person that wrote this, thank you so much for sharing this, because I think your story is more common than we realize. But you said, this person said, no, I don't want to. That's the beginning of, or not the beginning, but that's a sign of healthy source energy, life force energy, boundary. No, I don't want to do this. But then when the big person, the adult, is showing to us that if we don't do that, we're in trouble. We're going to get hit. We're going to get harmed. As a little one, we have to make a very quick choice. And usually the choice will be, I don't want to be hit anymore by this person who's supposed to take care of me. So I'm going to go down this hill and potentially hurt myself and not even think about the consequences, right? So there's this interesting thing where if now as an adult, we're wanting to change and heal and uncover these things, it's going to feel uncomfortable. It's going to feel uncomfortable. I'm going to repeat that again. It's going to feel uncomfortable to venture into this world of being ourselves, because history has shown us that when we try to be ourselves, when we try to set a boundary or whatever it might be, we're going to get harmed. We will get, in this case, literally hit. Now, this is so common. And so there are a few videos that I'm thinking about that go so beautifully with this. One is called Functional Freeze Explained. Again, I'll post these below. That brings you through an actual scenario of a person riding a bike, a kid, and the different ways in which, depending on how we're treated by the adult or the caregiver with us, if we were to fall off of our bike, how we are interacted with, how we are contained and nurtured or not, will greatly determine how we go forward in life and either shut down what we feel or not. Another video I'm thinking about, which is a little older, is on the origins of healthy aggression. I go through the story of how when we are infants, we start to get our healthy aggressive energy in a really positive way. And depending, again, on how that environment, i.e. the human that's taking care of us, usually our mother or father or auntie or nanny, depending on how they interact with us, it will either harvest and allow our healthy aggression to be really felt with good power, or we will be stunted and suppressed, and we'll have to put that energy back into our system. Another piece of content I'm thinking about that I did way more than 2 years ago, might be more like 4 years ago now, is an article on anger as medicine and how, depending on how we are treated, again, comes back to how we're treated when we're young, with our emotions and our tantrums and our injustices, if we're not listened to and felt and cared for in whatever way we might need to be, if those things aren't allowed, we will not know how to feel our natural internal physiology, our aggressions, our emotions, all of it. The other video, this is the last one that I will mention, is on how we create self-sabotaging behaviors. That's one of the more recent ones I had, and it was a big hit because it got into the subtlety of how little micro traumas are insidious often in our culture, especially in our westernized culture, and how we don't even realize that when we're starting to improve, in this case, this person said, I'm learning, I'm healing, but it's so uncomfortable. If we aren't aware of the connections with our early upbringing and how we were disallowed to express, if we don't make that leap, and even a theoretical observation and obviously a sensorial somatic experience, but to make that connection of, wow, that's when I started to not trust myself. That's when I felt my energy and my exuberance and my creativity, and then I was told to stop or whatever it might be, right? So when we start to learn about our nervous systems, these held traumas, and we want to improve our health, physical, mental, relational, environmental, career, creativity, you name it. When we start to embark on this path, one of the more common things is the moment we feel uncomfortable, or the moment we get a bit of resistance or a frustration, or we have a block in the way, or we do self-sabotage ourselves, or we do flee from health, as I talk about in that last video I just mentioned, it's very often likely that we will stop the process and stop the practices of working on the stuff that we are uncovering because it doesn't feel good. That doesn't mean it's going to feel yucky forever. It's just that we're feeling the stuff that when we were little, when we were 5, we didn't have the skill, the maturity, the emotional maturity to deal with. We didn't know how to ask for help. We literally couldn't run away from home, right? We couldn't find safety. We couldn't find a safe haven. We may not have had secure attachment and that nurture that we needed to be safe and create regulation within our system. So when we are crafting this as adults, someone asked me the other day, is it important to understand the theory? And I was like, heck yes, because if we don't understand the theory, our biology will play out and we'll feel the stuff, but then that higher brain is going to say, what are you doing? This is not good. You're going into fear. You're feeling panic. You're sensing uncomfortableness. You're feeling small. You're feeling meek. You're feeling scared. This is bad because we have to be strong. We have to push through and numb it all out. And that may have been what we had to do back then, but we can't stay in that kind of survival stress. We know through the research, especially through the adverse childhood experiences study and all of the meta studies they've done since this was incepted, this study back in the late 80s, early 90s, we know that when there is adversity, when there is shutdown chronically in a human system when we're young, it breeds illness later in life. Chronic illness, autoimmune illness, cancers, heart disease, so much stuff is connected to those early years and how well we were handled, treated, cared for or not. So to wrap this back to this concept of, first of all, humanity. This is such a common story. And I wanted to share this comment because these comments get lost. You might not see these comments, but I think a lot of us probably have a similar story to this. It might not be carbon copy, but your version of this, where you had to override your knowing, your internal knowing of what was right for you because the person or the system that was around you didn't want you to be who you were. And for whatever reason, most likely their traumatic past, their unresolved wounds are playing out, right? When you hear this story of what this grandparent did, most of us, I think, would be like, that's terrible. I would never do that. And chances are you never would do this because this generation is starting to age and no longer be here on Earth. And then there's going to be some folks who are still doing this. And that's part of our human condition. That is part of humanity. So if you are here learning this, which you are, and you know that this is not something that you would do, I think that is wonderful. If you meet someone who does this, I'll be cautious in saying, or I will be blunt in saying, I should say, don't try to change them. That comes with consequence as well. I actually did a video a little while ago on the importance of not having toxic individuals in our lives and breaking apart from toxicity, but that sometimes if that person isn't ready to break out of that, or they don't even know they're in it, it actually can be a threat to you to try to wake them up, right? So just be cautious with that. I'll obviously post that video below as well. So this one's been a little different. I kind of went all over a little bit here with different resources. I think I might have named about 4 or 5 resources, mostly videos, one article. And then finally, the other resource I will mention is the special topic I did in January of 2021, all on sovereign source energy. It is a longer one. It's about 90 minutes, just under 90 minutes long, but it goes through a story, theory, vignettes, examples, analogies. I share some of my own personal ways of processing stuff, not something that you can carbon copy, but it gives you an idea of how, as an adult, you can start to gain this personal freedom, this personal independence, and this sovereign energy, this life force energy, so that the healing can happen. And when we get to this level, it's just not as scary. And we don't want it to be scary, but we got to do the work to get to that point. So thank you to this person who shared this comment. And if you're sitting here watching this and memories are coming in and you're like, oh my goodness, that did happen to me. Maybe you're thinking of a memory and you're getting even defensive in your own system, saying, oh, no, that's nothing. I was fine. I walked away from it. I wasn't hurt. I wasn't beaten. But if something comes into your mind right now and it's there, listen to it. There's an emotion that comes up right now. Listen to it. And if you find yourself, even in the comfort of your own home, suppressing a sensation, an emotion, an action or reaction to this content, listen to how you might be suppressing it and trying to bypass this uncomfortable feeling. Because at this moment, if you are feeling something that's a little bubbly and a little uncomfortable, that's good. That's good in the sense that you have unearthed something that you might not have even realized was sitting there waiting to be observed, felt, and expressed. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for watching this video. And we will see you next week. Bye for now.